guys, your girl Bella. How are you? So as you guys know, today is Fix My Credit Friday. Now, if you're new to my channel, this is a segment where I take questions from one of my social media followers or one of my coaching clients, and I feature my answer here on YouTube. Now, today's question comes from Larry, and Larry reached out to me. He wanted to know if he files for bankruptcy, will he be able to keep his vehicle? So Larry did talk to me, and he said that he kind of is in over his head in credit card debt, and he is seriously considering filing for bankruptcy. But his main concern is whether he can keep his vehicle or not. So I first want to thank Larry for reaching out to me and for allowing me to feature his question in today's episode. Now, if you have a question that you would like featured in a future episode, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram, or you can send me an email, and I'll put my email address in the description box below. Now, Larry, whether you can keep your vehicle or not will totally be dependent upon which kind of bankruptcy you actually file for. So here in the US, the two popular types of bankruptcy are Chapter 7 and Chapter 13. Now, when it comes to Chapter 7 bankruptcy, this is a sort of liquidation process. So basically, you will be able to have certain bills discharged or wiped out, such as medical bills, personal loans, and credit cards. And in exchange, you would have to actually sell any property that you own. Once the property is actually sold, the proceeds from that sale will then be distributed to your creditors. Now, keep in mind, any debts like child support, back taxes, and student loans are usually excluded from any bankruptcy proceedings. So with Chapter 7 bankruptcy, you are actually allowed to keep certain assets, so you do have something after you go through your bankruptcy proceedings. Now, you are allowed to keep certain things that you need to maintain your household or for work, anything like clothing or home furnishings. And you are actually allowed to keep certain assets like cars and homes and retirement accounts. But what you are allowed to keep will be totally dependent upon what state you live in, the dollar value of those assets, and how much equity or ownership you have in these assets. So for example, if you were to live in the state of New York and wanted to keep your vehicle and exclude it from your bankruptcy proceedings, you can keep the car as long as you have equity in the car up to $4,550. So now I will give you two examples to show you how this would work. So let's say you have a vehicle and it is currently worth $10,000 and you do not have an outstanding loan on the car. So you technically have $10,000 of equity in the vehicle. So because the $10,000 equity that you have is higher than the exemption of $4,550, you would not be able to keep your vehicle post bankruptcy. So what would happen is the trustee would actually sell your vehicle, and let's say they sold it for $8,550. You would then get the exemption of $4,550, and the remaining $4,000 would then be distributed amongst your creditors. So in the second example, let's say we have the same vehicle and it is still worth $10,000, but you actually have an outstanding loan and you owe the bank $7,000. So technically your equity or ownership in this vehicle is now $3,000. Now, because your equity is less than the exemption of $4,550, you would actually be allowed to keep the vehicle. The only stipulation would be your current car loan would have to be up to date. So if you are behind any payment, you'd have to bring the account up to date or request a loan modification with the current lender. Now, when it comes to filing for bankruptcy, your other option would be to file for Chapter 13. Now, with Chapter 13 bankruptcy, this is basically a restructuring of your current debts and obligations. So you would basically agree to a repayment plan that would last anywhere from 3 to 5 years. And the majority of those payments will go to your biggest obligations, such as your mortgage, car loans, and then the other debts, such as credit cards, medical bills, and personal loans, will get a much smaller piece of the pie. Now, with Chapter 13, this would definitely give you the option to keep your vehicle and prevent you from having your car repossessed or going through foreclosure. So, Larry, as you can see, you can't keep your vehicle after filing for bankruptcy. It really depends upon which route you decide to go. If you decide to file for Chapter 13 and agree to the repayment plan, you can't keep your vehicle and prevent it from being repossessed. Now, if you go the Chapter 7 route, you can't keep your vehicle depending upon what state you live in, the dollar value of the car, and how much equity or ownership you have in the vehicle. So if you want to learn more about the bankruptcy laws in your state, I'll put a link to an article in the description box below. Now, if you did find this video helpful, feel free to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Now, as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
wins.